In this lesson, we are going to create a smart contract that creates a new contract using the new keyword. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine we want to create a contract that can store its owner name and have a function that complements upon each function call. So let's start creating. As we said, we're going to store the owner's name, and at construction we are going to simply pass any name, and we are going to assign the value underscore name to name. Okay, and now let's create a function called complement, and this function complement is simply going to be external, and is going to be a view that is going to return a string memory. Okay, and we simply are going to return using the string.concat function. We are going to say you look great today. So that's a complement. And then we are going to include the name. In this case, we simply say name. Okay, let's leave a space here. Alright, so the contract complementer is simply going to store a name, and then I can simply call complement, and I'm going to receive a complement. Let's test it. Let's deploy, and let's pass the name. Let's say Pedro. Deploy, the contract was deployed, and as we can see, we can access the name Pedro, but we can call the function complement. And it works. I'm getting you look great today, Pedro, which is good. Now, imagine we want to extend the complementary contract functionality to allow anybody to create their own version. So my friends can deploy their own complementer. How do we do that? We are going to create a contract called complementer factory that is actually going to deploy new complementer contracts. And then we are going to create a function called create complementer. Okay, that is going to also receive a string, and we are going to say that is going to return an address, the address of the newly created complementer contract. Okay, and then we simply say complementer new contract is going to be equals to new complementer. As you can see, we are simply using the new keyword, okay? But then, since complementer requires a string, we simply pass that string, and we are gonna return, remember, an address, and we simply cast new contract that is of type complementer to address, and that should work. Okay, now let's test it. Since I'm using the same file for the two contracts, be sure that you select the complementer factory. And I'm going to simply deploy, and now I'm going to create a complementer, and I'm going to say the name Pedro 2. Okay, and I create a complementer. Okay, this function call should have given to us the following output, and this is the decoded output that is essentially going to be the address of the new contract. Okay, and now in order to test it, I'm going to simply select complementer, but instead of deploying a new instance, I'm going to say add address, and that's going to generate a complementary instance, okay? And now let's call complement. All right, you look great today, Pedro too. All right, it worked. So now we can create new complementary contracts, and also our friends can come and create their own complementary contracts.